They've been linked to 32 potential health risks, including heart attacks, strokes, obesity and type 2 diabetes.
But as a new study reveals, some ultra-processed foods aren't as dangerous as we originally thought. Nutritionist Rob Hobson is here with all the products you can enjoy without worrying. It is a little bit complicated sometimes because it's very easy to turn around and go, well, it's black and white, but it isn't.
Interestingly, Fred had a bacon sandwich with white bread, and all we've been taught about white bread recently is it's really, really bad for you, ultra-high processed, don't go near it.
Yeah, so I think what's interesting about some of the products we're going to look at is these are kind of healthier UPFs. So UPFs are typically very processed, ready to eat, ready to heat. They're very nutritious, don't contain a lot of fibre, protein, vitamins, minerals. But within that same category, we've got a group of foods that actually are quite nutritious, but they've ended up in here because they've maybe got one or two additives. So really, I think that some of these are actually quite healthy to include in your diet.
What are the most common high-processed foods that we would usually find in our cupboards or find in our supermarkets that we tend to eat a lot?
So probably kind of crisps, pizzas, chocolate bars, you know, all the usual suspects, some ready-made meals, those kind of products are the ones. And they're the ones that we probably think you should limit in your diet. But like I said, there's others that we should probably include.
Well, because there's also some packaging, I feel, that looks a little bit misleading. And it's either that they try and make the packaging look healthier or they don't tell you the full list of all the additives and preservatives that are in there.
Yeah, definitely. And I think one of the other traits of UPFs is they tend to be brightly coloured packaging. They'll have lots of health claims. You know, you can even buy a chocolate bar with a high in protein claim. Clearly, it's not very good for you, but because it's got that claim, people might assume great after the gym, but it's full of sugar and saturated fat. So you just need to be a bit savvy when you're deciding what to choose.
OK.
What is, though, the big issue with ultra-high processed food? Why are some of these foods so bad for us?
So, I mean, often they've got a lot of saturated fat, salt and sugar, which we know isn't good for us. And then there's other aspects to it. You know, they're not very nutrient dense. If you're eating a lot of those foods, you might not be getting some of the other key nutrients in your diet, especially fibre, which people don't get enough of. There might be some issues around the gut microbiome. That's under investigation. There might be certain additives like nitrates in processed foods that we know are linked to colorectal cancer if you eat lots of them, because when they're cooked, they turn into carcinogenic compounds. So there's lots of different reasons. But what we do know is a very high intake is not good for your health.
OK.
So, yeah.
And quite often there's a problem where it comes to women because they're not eating enough fibre if they're eating too many ultra-processed foods.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I mean, fibre is such an amazing nutrient. It helps to reduce the risk of heart disease, type 2 diabetes. It helps you manage your weight. You know, it's a nutrient that's very underrated. And like you said, only 6% of women get their 30 grams a day, 12% of men. And it's one of those nutrients that I would definitely recommend people include more of in their diet. And that nutrient is in a lot of these foods, which people are now avoiding because they think they're ultra-processed and not good for them.
OK, so let's talk about some of those foods that actually are probably better for us than we thought. The first one there, baked beans.
Yeah, baked beans. So they are a really good source of fibre. So half a can will give you 9 grams of fibre, which is a third of your intake. They're in this category because they might contain modified starch, which is a UPF ingredient. Some of them contain spice extracts, which could be UPF, depending on how they're processed. But in my eyes, I think the health benefit outweighs the potential risk factor.
Right.
And also with a bit of whole grain bread, a bit of scrambled egg, you've got a really nutritious meal for like £1.
Yeah, if you can balance
brilliant
it.
if you can balance it out.
Yeah. The
Perfect.
interesting thing with the tomato sauces there is quite often ultra-processed food, it's quick and it's easy. It works for if you don't really have much time.
Yeah.
And those are a lifesaver to
pasta
all
sauces,
mums out there.
Yeah.
On any play dates that can just make that happen. But they're not too bad.
They're not too bad. I mean, I eat these because, like you said, they're convenient.
Yeah.
So you want food in a hurry. If you add a bit of lean meat to them, chicken mince, corn even, you know, vegetables, bit of pasta, you've got a really healthy, nutritious meal. They're in there because some of them might be low in sugar. They've got an artificial sweetener. They might have a stabiliser to hold their shape or a preservative. But again, one of those foods that's really convenient. You can add other stuff to it to make a healthy meal. So...
OK,
for those.
Let's go on to the third one then, which is sort of the breakfast cereals. Is that some sort of yoghurts as well? And the wholemeal bread.
Yeah, bread's one of those that always causes loads of contention. And I think, you know, for a lot of people who can't afford fresh sourdough, because it's really expensive, right? I think that choosing a wholemeal over white, if that's what you're going to choose for packaged bread, it's a good option.
Okay.
You know, it's high in fibre. It might be in there because it's got a preservative or an emulsifier, but it's a good option. The yoghurts are really interesting. So that's a functional food. I think the brand is Benecol, but there's other brands. They contain plant sterols, so that helps people to reduce their cholesterol naturally. So it's got a real function. It's in there because it's sugar-free, it's got an artificial sweetener, but the health benefits, especially if you're trying to reduce your cholesterol, I think far outweigh the fact it's got a sweetener. So for me, that's a really good choice.
Cereals is a big thing. My son loves Weetabix. It's like that's his big. But I'm trying to find a cereal that actually is healthy because, of course, especially when you're trying to get kids ready in the morning, it's a very easy go-to breakfast. Get something in them before they go to school. Yeah,
and I think breakfast, within that whole UPF thing, I think speedy breakfasts are key because you want something quick to leave the house, eat and then leave the house. These are only in this category because they contain barley malt extract, which is a UPF ingredient. You can actually buy it in health food shops.
Okay.
You know, they're low in saturated fat, low in sugar, low in salt. You can add stuff to them like chopped banana, some nut butter, whatever you want. So I think that's a really good choice.
What is barley malt extract? Is that just... changes the flavour?
It gives it extra flavour, that kind of really malty cereal flavour that you want.
Like Horlicks almost.
OK.
Yeah.
Soups. So here...
You're a big fan of the soup, aren't you?
I love a soup. These are great to have in the cupboard, so they're ready to go whenever you want them. But you can choose wisely, can't you? You can get more out of certain cans.
Definitely. I mean, we all know fresh soups are pretty healthy. There's no additives in them when you buy them off the shelf. They're a really good option. But for some people, that might not be in their budget. So I think these are a good, quick option. 1 of your 5 a day. If you try and choose one that's got vegetables, maybe barley or some beans and pulses, you can even add some extra pulses from another can if you want into those to make them more nutritious. But yeah, I think they're a great option. If you look at the side of the can, mostly green and amber traffic lights, which means nutritionally they're pretty good as well. So as a quick, cheap meal option, I think they're brilliant. And a lot of older people, you know, might choose these as a meal as well for convenience and cost. So really good.
Just next to that, you've got some nut butter, some peanut butter. Now, that's big in our house. My son, who loves his Weetabix, puts peanut butter on it. I mean,
on the Weetabix?
On the Weetabix.
That's good. I do that.
You do that? Yeah.
I do that. Look, he's a strapping young man.
It's a really good way to start the day, but that you sometimes worry that peanut butter, surely... What's the score with peanut butter?
It's not a UPF.
It's not?
Right, so we put this on here because I think some people assume it's a UPF, but it's just butter, a bit of oil and salt. So it's actually really healthy food.
But are some better than others?
There are some better than others. Right. So there are some brands that might have some sort of emulsifier in.
Oils.
And maybe some different oils. They might change nutritionally. Some might have a bit more sugar. But generally, look at the back of the packet. You know, use your common sense. Have a little look. Most of them are just peanut butter, salt and a little bit of peanut oil.
That's great. Peanut butter's good for you. Lovely.
And some of them aren't ultra-processed. See, the popcorn there, the sweet and salty popcorn, I take one of those for Milo after school.
Yeah.
Is it OK?
Do you know what? It's OK. I think popcorn varies as well. I think people assume that that's ultra-processed. If it's in a bag and it's just salted, it's just popcorn, a bit of salt. The one that's got a bit of sugar, as long as it's just sugar, not a reformulated form of sugar, like the glucose syrup or something like that, I think it's fine as a snack. I mean, some of those sort of brands that are buttered and caramelised have glazing agents and all sorts of stuff. I wouldn't recommend those because they're very high in sugar, often high in sat fat. But I think I think they're a good option.
I love popcorn, especially when you're watching a movie. So now you've given me clearance. I'm all over it. As long as it's not the one with the syrups. And there's some hummus there as well, which is big in our house.
Yeah, I mean, you just can't put hummus in that category. It might have a preservative, potassium sorbate, which helps to preserve its shelf life. But again, it's a really healthy ingredient. Kids love it.
Yes.
You can serve it with carrot or pepper sticks, maybe just some wholemeal pita. It's a really healthy option. And if you're vegan, it's a good source of iron and calcium, which can be quite tricky to get in a vegan diet if it's not planned properly. So I think it's a really, really great option.
And it's actually really easy to make hummus from the beans in a can too. So Craig's going to be doing that later.
Yes, he's going to show us how to make our own. That survey, Rob, I'm sure you were intrigued by the fact that the general public think that bacon sarnies are an aphrodisiac. You're a nutritionist. Do you have a food that you believe is a bit of an aphrodisiac for you in your life? What's your go-to?
I don't think there is, to be honest.
No.
I like the idea of Randy Rashers, but I'm not sure.
Maybe Craig's Randy Rashers, or Fred's Randy Rashers. It was Craig's Bao Bonk, wasn't it? That's what it was.
Exactly. I'm not having to hold myself back. I'll be very honest right now as the social experiment.
Rob, thank you for your thoughts on that. That's really interesting. There's a lot to debunk, isn't there? So it's good. Debunk, not debunk.
Read the labels. Read the labels.
And do let us know as well if you've got an aphrodisiac food that you swear by at home, like if you're going to go out for a romantic meal?
Oysters. Oysters are supposed to.
That's a classic, isn't it? A bit of oysters. Supposed to do it. Ice cream, I think, is mostly, but maybe an unusual one.
Yeah.
Marmite at some point. Let us know
Love it
what you
or
think.
hate it.
Yeah.
Thank you for visiting our This Morning YouTube channel. We upload new content every day, so go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out. And we'll see you in the morning.